Welcome to the Women for Impact Global Podcast. I'm Kelly Rowe, your host for this show. My massive transformative purpose is to accelerate the transition to a sustainable and meaningful future. This podcast aims to bring real stories of incredible women in impact investing and women-led impact initiatives from around the world to you. In this episode, we chat with Neelam Pandita, an ESG, social impact, gender and inclusion specialist, where we unpack the meaning of gender lens investing and the importance in taking a holistic approach to gender lens investing and transformation. Neelam, it's really amazing to have you here. It's a huge milestone for Women for Impact. It's our very first podcast recording, and you are our first amazing guest. I'm just so excited to get you here today to chat to us about things that are really important, and that's looking at the world of gender equality, women economic empowerment, and many other amazing things. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're based, and the organization that you're working for?
Great. Thank you so much, Kelly, for inviting me to the podcast. I'm so happy to be here. Hello, everyone. I'm an environmental science postgraduate, and I've been working in the field of corporate sustainability, ESG, gender, and impact for around 7 years. My organization, Ultimates for Impact, it is an advisory firm which works with impact investors, startups, DFIs, foundations, to support them in catalyzing impact investing in developing world, specifically Southeast Asia. We also work with academic incubators and government incubators as well to mentor and provide early stage support to the incubatees.
That's so amazing. I've read up that you are passionate about women's rights advocacy at the intersection of the environment and climate change. How did you get into this journey?
I've been interested in this from the very childhood. I mean, in my school books itself, in my Hindi book actually, which mentioned, the chapter was called The Discrimination Between Girls and Boys. That was the chapter. That's what it meant. And then I was like, oh, there's something called discrimination, because I was too young to, understand these concepts. So I came home and I just talked to my parents about it. I said, do you discriminate between me and my brother? And they were shocked. They were like, what did you hear this from and what are you talking about? But that was the time I started try to understand. It just stuck in my head. So the chapter was also about this, like, there were two kids, one boy, one girl, and then the parents would, teach the boy child. I was supposed to clean and cook and everything. So she was not allowed to go to school. So that is something I thought happens in our world also. And I tried to observe these differences. That is how I became more passionate about it because I started to learn more about it, that women are not given enough opportunities, harassment, of course, we all know it is so common. And then in leadership roles, I could find very few women. Because of all these things, it interested me. And then I was working in sustainability, and sustainability is a huge part of sustainability is gender and employee welfare and diversity, inclusion. So under that also, when I started assessing what happens, what are the initiatives that are taken by corporates, or what is the state of affairs across the sectors, any sector, any industry. So that is also where I realized that there's a huge gap which can be addressed and which is very important to be addressed. Even the UN SDG goals, when we take into account and when we try to understand, that is also where I learned that if we are able to achieve the goal of gender equality, we will be able to achieve all the other goals. And all the other goals are no poverty, zero hunger. These are such huge goals which are so critical for our world. We should all actually get together and try to find out the solutions. We should not, wait for it to resolve itself. We have to create that atmosphere, to create those opportunities. Women have that agency to work more. So if you don't have a crèche facility, the woman will not be able to continue after if they have a little small child, right? A very young child, they will not be able to. So create that opportunity, create that atmosphere for them so that they're able to, if they want to, they're able to work, stay in the workforce and grow move towards the leadership positions.
I'm so inspired by the fact that you were exposed to such a story that brought so much inspiration and insights into your world as a child. It's just so important that
we all have access to education, understanding, knowledge, and awareness from a very early age. And that's critical to the future development of the world, as you say. And putting that lens over gender equality, that's plays such a vital role in being able to uplift societies around the world, because we do have some of the most unequal societies that you and I exist within. Being in India, being in South Africa, we see it firsthand on the ground, what it means to live in a society that's unequal. But it's not just our countries. There's many leading countries in the world that have just as many issues in terms of inequality, discrimination that exists. Your view in terms of gender lens impact investing, what is it? And what are the many misconceptions that you've come across with the amazing work that you've been doing?
When you talk about gender lens investing, as the term suggests itself, it's basically applying the lens of gender in your investment strategy and your decision-making process, which could mean investing in women entrepreneurs, women-owned or led enterprises where founders or leaders or have a majority share, and then investing in enterprises that promote workplace equity and diversity. It can be in form of staffing or women board represent, and along the supply chains as well. There can be enterprises which are offering products and services that improve the lives of women and girls substantially. We talk about misconceptions. I think the common misconception is that it entails small investments, not backed by research and just concerning women, whereas it actually applies to all sectors and types of investments that can contribute to more informed decisions. Because as you also know that every investment will have an impact on gender, right? So it's not just a smaller investment. Then it is also understood that it's a niche market, but the number of gender lens funds has actually quadrupled over last 4 years, and they're just growing. So it's not a small or niche market anymore. They're trying to democratize gender lens investing as much as possible with the growth of these funds and more investors for funding the gender diverse or women-owned enterprises. Then it is also felt that gender lens investing means concessionary returns. But there are multiple reports, you can see them. They show that gender-focused funds, which invest in companies that are advancing women through gender diversity on their boards and in their management, they have outperformed and with greater returns. There are studies and proofs that they can actually produce greater returns. Then it's also felt that gender lens investing means just counting the number of women, represented in the board
positions. Just about to ask. So how do we track the impact of this?
Checkbook approach will not help at all. It's not just like what is the number of women on board. That is not how it should be. Although it is very critical, leadership is very critical, but when you're making decisions, it is very important to ensure that a positive impact is being created for women and girls. So it should not be thought with that particular criteria only.
Absolutely. What else do you think would need to be considered when trying to measure the impact that is being made from a gender lens perspective?
There are different type of tools. There's a 2x criteria. There's Iris Plus Matrix, which also includes the 2x criteria in its own way. Because when you're reporting on Iris Plus, there are other parameters also, but it also gives you a gender lens separately, the matrix. If you're trying to understand that if I am falling under the category or my enterprise is having an impact on gender, or do I qualify as a gender lens enterprise or not, you can easily measure through that and just find out where you are and just start creating goals and targets according to your baseline where you are currently, and you can easily move towards it. Of course, it's a little bit difficult because when you are hiring someone, you cannot be biased. Okay, because I have to fulfill a criteria, so let's hire a woman instead of a man who is well qualified. That's not something that women also want. you just create that situation, okay, that this is my target, and in these many years, or this is how I will move towards it. And these are the initiatives that we will create to ensure that we become more gender positive. We have more women on board, or we have more women employees. What is the gap? Why there are not enough women in our workforce? So those are the things that a company needs to assess if they want to have that gender aspect in place. And then about investors, they have very specific criteria, and they will measure the company's gender productivity according to that. So I think that is the only way.
Okay, no, that's great. I mean, we kind of covered the importance of gender lens investing, but how is it quite different to traditional funding structures that exist out there?
Traditional funding structures don't take these things into account. They do not look at the inequality part of it. And when we talk about gender, if we're able to, create structures for gender investing. So for example, when I talk about sustainability or impact investing particularly, it also took a lot of time to create structures or define processes, metrics, rating structures, and everything for impact investing. I think around 15 and more than 15 years it has been in place, and people are still trying to understand it. So it will take time, and it will help us in including other diverse groups, also racial groups. It will provide that path or structure frameworks for that, so that we can build on this. There are benefits of gender lens investing structures as compared to the traditional ones. Given the pandemic, showed us what is the gap, what are the gender gaps, and among the economies, there has been gender-based violence or women exiting from workforce, overburden, overworking, unpaid work. Then a lot of girls who left school or studies rather than before. So not just COVID, any climate crisis or any other type of problems, if come in future, they affect women and girls the most. That is what we have been able to understand till now. So it has become even more critical to leave the traditional structures behind and move towards more inclusive structures, especially in the case of gender. As you said, it's very difficult to bring change, especially in these areas. But I think we can start with problems. There are things that we have not thought of, or we have been going with a certain mindset, which needs to be shifted. And when we accept that, I think only then we will be able to improve upon it and try to learn and make ourselves more aware of all the problems and what people feel and think. One of the things that we do is that we also do social impact assessments, in which we also meet a lot of women on ground. These are women entrepreneurs which have small businesses, or are women who have farms, or who are working with their husbands work in farms or shops or different other things. So it also gives us the perspective of how they look at different things like economy. We also only know from news, whatever is said, that government has sanctioned this much, or this is the initiative that someone has taken. So it's just what we are reading. When we actually meet them in person and learn from their perspective, or what they have gained or lost, or how they have managed in the pandemic, or how they have managed their lives day to day. Because in gender lens or in women empowerment, whenever someone talks about it, they don't see these women somehow. For example, I don't know about the developed world, but in developing world, we have a lot of house helps because it's little affordable here. Now, these women also have children, and we do not even think about it. We feel that poverty is the biggest problem, and creche facilities or children or these things are smaller in comparison to that. But we should not think like that, because they are also working. It's like a job that I'm doing or you are doing, right? They're also working, they're getting a salary. But what about their family? What about her child? We do not think about gender or women empowerment in terms of these things. Lot of mindset shift is needed, acceptance is needed, and more people should be engaged. There is a lot of engagement that is needed, and not just very few stakeholders. Ground level, the people you are going to impact, you have to speak with those people, understand what do they even want. Maybe they do not want something that you're providing them. They want something totally different. And basics, I think, is respect and dignity. Are they even getting that? So how are you ensuring that? These are the things that have to be addressed or have to be taken into picture when designing a policy, a program, any initiative. These are the things that have to be taken into consideration.
And it's, as you say, quite difficult, because you do try that engagement process. There's a couple of hurdles you have to get over, and one of that's trying to create trust. Communities don't just want to open up to outsiders, especially if you don't live in that area or that community, or if you don't even have roots, if you haven't come from there and you're trying to go back, trying to bring about some positive change and transformation that we need. That can be quite difficult to overcome. Are there any experiences that you've had in trying to overcome some of those barriers at the community level?
So, for example, I was speaking to a woman in a rural village, and I said, why are you using this traditional mud stove? So they basically create a stove like for cooking, with mud and put some wood into that and burn it to cook, and it produces a lot of pollution and it's very bad for their health. They say that the food is tastier when it's cooked on this, and we do not want to use the other gas stoves or other forms of cooking mechanisms because this produces better food, healthier food, tasty food. So we would like to go with this. So you cannot tell them what to do because you have come city or you modern technologies. You have to understand things from their perspective. So providing solutions to them which takes their needs into priority has to be taken into account. For example, there are a lot of cooking stoves, electricity or gas. They use the wood only, but the smoke is filtered. So they do not inhale that smoke that is produced by the traditional mud stuff. So those are the things that they accept and they are able to use. But you cannot, the first day you cannot go and tell them this is wrong. The age-old practice is wrong. And you should not do this. they will tell, explain you 5 things that this is how it is better than your method. Those are the kind of observations that I made on the field. There are many other things also.
You've got to get onto the ground to be able to understand before you can help and build the relationships that do need to be built before you can bring about some leverage points and opportunities to help people find a different future for themselves. Which brings me to the next question, just to start working towards the end here. But what do you believe the future holds?
There are funds which are focusing especially on gender. It appears to show clearly that the gender balanced workplaces are connected, with better outcomes. So going forward, the gender related data, especially and research, will expand. It will help in making more informed decisions in gender-related issues, because right now still there is a gap in the research part. We have not yet been able to assess more. It's just started. So more and more the quality of data will improve, and then I feel that the use of gender data will help in advancement in the fields from anywhere, software, life sciences, innovations, which can benefit women. Opportunities can also be found in investing in products that address issues of women at a global level, not just in a particular area, in a particular geography. It includes maternal mortality, personal safety, then trafficking, harassment, a lot of other things, workplace injuries. Investing in gender lens can actually help increase profits, or it can economically also and socially also, it is quite beneficial for everyone. Therefore, I feel that there are more and more, it has gained traction. Issue of gender is sure to grow, and in the workplace, in our homes, or across the globe in different organizations.
I like that you link the future into the reality of what we face with today is the baseline, and identifying that there are data gaps at this stage. If we could find ways to collect and improve the data collection process, that most certainly will start to help inform key decision making and in the change enablers along their journey in working towards gender equal future and a more equal future for all, inclusive of all diverse spaces and places that we come from. Neelam, it's been so amazing chatting with you. It's been a real privilege to have you here today.
Thank you for listening. For more information about Women for Impact, or ways to join or support our global community, and for more details of our incredible guests on each show, please visit our website, womenforimpact.net. Connect with us on LinkedIn, Spotify, or YouTube, and drop us a line. We would love to hear from you.